Sorry about that, folks. My wife called. Just had a couple things to tell me real quick. Nothing major, but she she is staying true to form. We'll just say that. She has a natural ability to lose car keys and debit cards, and right now her set of car keys that has the key to my car, the key to her vehicle, and her debit card are all missing. So anyway, where was I? He was 66, 67 years old when he passed away. And he had a long, slow downhill decline in his health overall. But he didn't lose his mental acuity. He always stayed pretty sharp. One of the things that I really enjoyed about him was seeing just how independent he was. He had his own routines to stay that way. First off, he hated shopping during the daytime because he, being in that power chair, his was one of the ones that will spin on its own axis, so it didn't drive like a car. It drove more like a zero-turn lawnmower. Good grief, this guy's all over the road. I think I'm going to get around him. Well, anyway, he said it was really easy to roll over people's toes when he was out shopping when stores were busy. And he hated doing that because he said you pull up somewhere, you stop, and people, they're not being rude, they're just getting stuff off the shelf same as you. And you go to spin away from the shelf, and before you know it, you've run over someone's foot. And Ray was a bigger guy before you add the weight of the chair. So he always hated doing that. So he'd go out shopping at night because there's less people. And there were stores that he had all but sworn off due to how snug they were. He wouldn't shop in Dollar Generals back then because there was no room to maneuver in the aisles. Well, anyway, one of the things that I always thought was wild when he and I first started hanging out, I'd go over to his house, we'd sit outside on the porch and just talk. And I always found it fascinating to listen to him talk about just a different time of the world, the way things used to be. I always enjoyed hearing that. And it was funny. There were so many things that were hugely different about the world that he lived in, and then there were so many things that were exactly the same. As far as just if you take technology out of it and the fact that he had lived through a huge technological shift, there wasn't as much different about the world as you would expect, and the majority of the changes were because of technology. Societally, there was a lot of the same stuff going on. But he and I always loved talking. But anyway, one of the things that I noticed when I first went over there, he had a little 1 to 2 foot length of small logging chain with a hook hooked on his front door handle. And I always thought that it was a way for him to double lock his front door from the outside. You know, he had a bunch of stuff on the porch. He could have hooked it to anything heavy and locked it to it. That way no one can just kick his door in. That little length of chain was long enough that he could open his front door, grab it as he's going out, and pull it shut behind him without smacking the back of his power chair on the door every time. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. On his wheelchair van, it had two ways to open the van up. He always left it locked, but there was a remote way where you had like a traditional key fob and you push a button and the van would open up. But the way he always used was the foolproof way, where so long as the van had a decent charge in the battery, it would work. He had a rather stout magnet that he carried everywhere with him that you put it on a certain place on the van. I don't want to give that away in case one of y'all are thieving jerks. And you would put this magnet on the van and you could close it up when you got out or open it up when you got to it. And one of the things that Ray proved, and I've had this theory for a while, men don't mature. We just get old. We might get smarter. We'll hopefully get a little wiser, but we don't mature. And here's one of the stories about that. He had a few years back some gardening done on his property, and he had this mound of dirt in his yard left over from the landscaping work. Not a big deal. But he had nowhere to put it, nothing to do with it, so it just kind of stayed there. Well, one time I'm over visiting, we had worked on something, and we're done, and I degreased myself. There were a bunch of kids in his neighborhood setting off firecrackers and bottle rockets and smoke bombs and all that stuff. Because it's around the 4th of July. He said, hey, you want to have some fun? I'm always down for fun. Come with me. So we go into his house, and we go into his pantry room, which was a small bedroom or office, but it's what he used for his pantry because it was big enough for him to get in and out of easily in his chair. Well, he grabs a .50 caliber muzzle loader that had been sitting there loaded. He goes, I need to clean this anyway. We need to empty it. So we go out into his yard with this. This was done in safe conditions in Mexico, outside of city limits. It was done in safe and legal conditions. So anyway, we go out. He's like, put one right in that dirt pile. Okay. Pull it up, aim it right at the dirt pile. It's not 20 feet away from me. It didn't matter. We were using the world's loudest cap gun, not anything. We weren't trying to shoot anything. We were just trying to make a bunch of racket. And I pull it up, cock it back. Whoom! All the neighborhood kids start screeching and laughing and giggling. They didn't know what it was. They didn't see us. We couldn't see them. He says, get your butt back in the house with that thing before we get in trouble. We were outside the city limits. There were no regulations on discharge of a firearm so long as it was done in a safe direction and not reckless or wanton. But he giggling, followed me all the way back to the house. Thought that was just funny. Anyway, The reason why I'm doing this video is the internet is so massive that I've had this idea about putting up some of the more memorable stories that people have about their loved ones, themselves, their friends, people that have gone on. And I just thought that it would be kind of neat to put these stories up where people can hear about people that may not be here anymore, or eventually won't be here. So the storage space of the internet is infinite, so why not? Thanks for tuning in today, guys. It was fun reminiscing about my dear buddy Ray, who moved on, or who died, whatever you want to say, in 2009. Hope everyone has a safe day. Don't forget to like, share, rate, comment, subscribe, notification bell, and tune in next time for another Cruise with Big Smooth. Y'all take care.